Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and I am here with another reading vlog. And this time I decided to try my first ever 24-hour reading challenge. Now, there's a lot of different ways that people do this on the internet. I am doing what I think people call the timer method, where basically I'm going to start a timer and I will start and stop it whenever I'm reading over the next couple days. And we're going to see how much I can read in 24 hours of actually reading. I'm not doing the one where I like try and stay up or anything. Like, that is just not gonna happen. I need my sleep, so I will not be doing that one. You will never see that video on my channel. But we're gonna do it this way. I'm hoping to keep this contained to the next few days. I do have some things going on, so this isn't going to be like I'm able to just read all day every day for the next several days kind of a video, but I'm gonna try and do it as quick as I can is the goal. So the other catch with today's video is I am going to do it purely reading books from the library. About a year ago, I finally got my Libby set up, and so you've probably heard me talk about it a lot if you've been watching my videos, but I really enjoy Libby. I think it's super fun, but I did get lots of holds in all at the same time, and so I need to like make some moves. I hate when books are when I'm sitting waiting and it feels like books are not moving in line at all, so I don't want to be the person that's like holding up these books for so long, but I did have 3 come through kind of all at once, so I am going to do this 24-hour reading challenge purely of books from Libby. First thing, let's talk our TBR. The first book that I needed to read, because I got this one actually a little bit ago and I've been trying to get through other books for different videos, so I need to get to this one ASAP, is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Is that? What else does this author write? This one I am a little bit nervous about because I have tried to read another book by this author. I tried to read Last Tale of the Flower Bride and I didn't love it. I ended up DNFing that book. So I'm hoping that this one I end up liking better. But this one is a fantasy. I think it's YA. And you're following, let's see, what is his job? Honestly, I'm not 100% sure, so I'm just gonna read you the description. All eyes are on Paris, where the Exposition Universelle World Fair is to be held. Hidden among the technological marvels and artistic creations on display is an item of unimaginable power, a Babel fragment that would enable those who wield it with magical forging abilities over nature's elements. Severin Montagne Allere's birthright was stolen from him. Now, to reclaim his rightful place among France's elite, he must obtain the Babel fragment for the Order. It is a heist that will require the ingenuity and skills of those with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Enrique, a gifted historian and wordsmith caught between 2 worlds, Sophia, a brilliant forging artist and engineer separated from her family, Hypnos, a rival aristocrat who needs an ally among the Order, Tristan, an extraordinary forger raised at Severin's side, loyal to his adopted brother's quest, and Lila, the mysterious dancer and espionage artist who stole Severin's heart in a moment of vulnerability he couldn't afford. But as the dangerous risks of their escapade surge, Severin finds himself torn between his desire for revenge against all those who wronged him and the people he's deliberately placing in harm's way, including the woman he loves and fears to lose. So, it's a heist, I guess? I don't really know. We'll see. I actually just put this book on hold because I was looking through Barnes & Noble and I saw the second book in this series, and that one sounded really interesting, and so now I'm reading this one purely because I thought the second book sounded interesting. So that's the one we're gonna start with, but I will walk you through the rest of my TBR really quick. The other 2 books that I have on my shelf right now, the first one is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This one has gotten really big on the internet. I still am not 100% sure how I'm gonna feel about this book, which is kind of a trend with the books that I end up borrowing on Libby. If I'm really confident I'm gonna love a book, then lots of times I'll just go get it. But if I'm not so sure if I'm gonna like it, then I try to borrow it on Libby, and then if I really enjoy it, I can go buy it later. I'm not entirely sure exactly what's going on, but Death is a character in the book, and that was the main thing that attracted me to this book, was Death being a character. I love books where you have things like that as characters, and I'm not entirely sure what her relationship with is Death. I feel like I've heard people say it's like a romance, which I don't know. That's the thing that's been putting me off, is this definitely feels like it fits into like the romantasy-esque genre, which I'm not a huge fan of. So we'll see what I think about this one. I've heard a lot about like the gothic vibes and it sounds really cool. So that's the second one. And then the last one that is currently on my shelf is the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association. And this is another one that I saw just walking around Barnes & Noble. It sounds so funny, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to be like my type of humor. I don't know. I never know with books like that if I'm going to enjoy them or if I'm just going to be bored because it's just purely for the jokes, you know? But it sounds hilarious. So I put it on Libby. This one's actually a pretty recent release. It just barely came out, let's see, May 26th. So it's currently June 24th. So it came out like a month ago and I just barely got my hold in for it. So those are the 3 books that I currently have on my shelf. So those are where I will be starting. If we manage to get through all 3 of those before the 24 hours is up, then I will find another one. I have other books that are just like available. I don't think any of my other holds are gonna come through in that time frame. They're supposed to come a little bit later than that. So the soonest that I have another one is 16 weeks. These aren't always the most accurate, but you know, it's close. So I do have several others that are just like on my radar that are available now that I can borrow if we end up having extra time at the end of finishing those 3 books. But we are going to start with The Gilded Wolves. I will start my timer when I sit down to start reading, and we'll see how quickly I can get through 24 hours of reading books only from Libby. It's the next day. I am just under 20 hours on this challenge and I am almost to 50% on my book. It's going good. It's definitely like heist book is the best way to explain this. It is like you have this group, there's 5 of them that have all come together and they are going on this heist to try and steal something from one of the like main families in power. And the leader of this group is basically like a deposed leader. He should have inherited the leadership of one of the main families, but they basically declared him a fake and like got rid of that family. So anyways, they're on this heist to go and steal this thing. And it's really fun. There's some very unique characters in here. I wouldn't say anything that I'm like, I feel like his super groundbreakingly new. I'm interested. There are some like teaser things happening that I could see turning into something really interesting, but so far I feel like everything's a little surface level. I wouldn't say I'm like so sucked in to where I'm like attached to the characters or anything, but it's fun. It's quick read, it's passing the time fast, but it's not anything like wild. So I'm probably gonna keep reading until I'm done with this book, and then I will update you. I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, but I will be reading pretty much everything in this video on the Kindle, because that's the easiest way for me to read the library books. So I just put them from Libby onto my Kindle. But I did find the audiobook for this was available on my Libby, so I borrowed that, but I don't know that I'm gonna end up listening to any of this. I do have like stuff I probably should be doing around the house, so an audiobook would be good, but I feel like I'm enjoying reading this one, so I don't really want to switch to the audiobook version of it. So I don't know, I may try and find an audiobook to listen to for some of this challenge, just for the purposes of like getting some other stuff done as well. But I feel like I need to pick something totally different, like maybe a mystery thriller, because the 3 books that I was already planning on listening or reading for this video are all fantasies, and so I feel like I need something different, because like I can read multiple books at a time, but they need to be different genres, and I think it'd just be too confusing to be jumping to an audiobook that was also fantasy. I'm trying to think if I have anything that's a good option. Unfortunately, I don't have like a lot of audiobooks on my radar at the moment. I'm really picky about narrators, so I have a hard time picking audiobooks because I have a hard time finding narrators I like. So I don't know, maybe I'll do that. We'll see how I'm feeling, but making good progress. We're like 4 hours in and I'm about halfway through a book. So I will update you when I finish this book. Okay, I have finished The Gilded Wolves. Our timer is currently at 16 hours and 24 minutes. We're doing pretty strong. That was pretty fast finish. That's like, what, 7.5 hours to read that first book, which is pretty good. I feel like most of the time I'm a decently fast reader, but sometimes books just take me forever, so it just kind of depends. The book was good. I'm not sure that I'm quite settled on a rating yet. I will probably wait and update you at the end of the video with my final ratings on everything. I feel like it's just hard to rate something immediately after finishing it. Like, I literally just finished it a couple minutes ago, so not sure on a rating yet. Overall, it was good. It wasn't anything like crazy new or special. I feel like I said this in the last update, but there were some fun twists at the end. I definitely am growing slightly more attached to some of the characters. I specifically like Sophia. I don't know if you say it Sophia or Zovia. Sophia? It's like a Z, but I feel like it's just Sophia. I do like her a lot. She's really funny. The one thing that's been kind of throwing me off the whole book is I have the hardest time picturing what age these people are. I don't know, like, I swear some of them are adults. Some of them I think are older teenagers, but then like they'll refer to them all as boys. And then I'm like, I don't, is this, like, I'm pretty sure the main character at the end of the book has his 24th or 25th birthday, but she keeps referring to him as a boy, or she's like, this boy is in, like, on the couch or whatever, and you're just like, I'm like, wait, this makes him sound like a kid, but then he's, I don't know, it just feels weird. Like, they don't feel, like, some of them feel like adults and some of them feel like teenagers, but then sometimes they'll like reference people in a way that is like, oh, that doesn't fit with what I was picturing for their age. So I don't know, that's probably the thing that threw me off the most in this book. It was just that ages felt weird, but it did enough on, like, it set up the next book. It not necessarily cliffhanger. Lots of plot points have been resolved, but definitely some crazy stuff happened there at the end. I obviously don't want to spoil things, but I am interested to continue into the next book. Again, the second book is the one that I actually had read the back of and was interested in, so I'm excited to get to that one. I am going to continue this video with our next book, which is going to be the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association. This one is the one that's a more recent release. It is by Caitlin Rozakis? Something like that. Not really sure how to say her name, but it's the author of Dreadful, which I'm just now putting the connection together. That's why they were on the same table at Barnes & Noble. But basically, this one sounds like more just like a funny book. And it is about this little girl who just barely was recently bitten by a werewolf. And her parents are now all of a sudden thrown into trying to navigate the world of sending their daughter to a magical school. They didn't really know that this existed beforehand. I'll just read a little bit of the description. Two parents and their recently bitten werewolf daughter try to fit into a privileged New England society of magic aristocracy. But deadly terrors await them. Ancient prophecies, remorseless magical trials, hidden conspiracies, and the PTA bake sale. So that's kind of the like short synopsis, but it sounds like just a funny good time. It sounds very different from the last one. That's why I'm picking this one next, and then I'll go to Belladonna, where this one's just kind of a totally different vibe. Hopefully that will break them up a little bit in my mind, where I'm reading 3 fantasies right in a row. So that's the next book. I will update you when I'm part of the way through, or maybe when we hit like 12 hours, because then we'll be halfway through our timer and the challenge. But let's go get started on the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association. for a little bit of a check-in. I am like 53% of the way through the Grimoire Grammar School book. And this one is not as funny as I expected it to be. Also, time update, we're at just over 12 hours. So we're almost halfway. But this book, I definitely, like, the tone of the back of the book when I read it at Barnes & Noble was a lot more humorous sounding. And this one is much more serious than that. Like, I can see how we're describing it still as like a cozy fantasy. Like, a lot of what we're doing is very mundane in this book, but it's not really funny. Like, it definitely does not have the same tone as the description that I read of it. You're basically following this mom, Vivian, who is hardcore traumatized by watching her daughter die because she got her throat ripped out by a werewolf. And so now her daughter has been turned into a werewolf, and she is trying to adjust to a new life in a town where magical creatures are real, and her daughter goes to school at like this magical, the Grimoire Grammar School, and they're like having to do trials and stuff. And so it's very much so like normal person who didn't think magic existed gets thrown into the magic world, and she's trying to navigate that as someone who's a very stressed out, anxious mom, and highly traumatized. She's like in therapy, so you like get her therapy sessions every once in a while, and I don't know, a big part of the book is her trying to like make friends with the other parents of the other kindergartners, because that's how old her daughter is. And so she like joins the PTA. It's not actually called the PTA in the book, so I don't know why that's in the title, but and there's like whole sections of the book where like there'll be like a couple pages worth of just like the WhatsApp group chat of all the parents like freaking out. So like that part, like, it's funny when you talk about it, but it doesn't feel funny. Like, nothing in this book has actually made me laugh. It's just like funny to talk about the circumstances of it, but it's not like you're following in the point of view of Vivian, who is very traumatized and really struggling. And so it's not really funny until you go to like explain what the book's about, and then it sounds funny, but it isn't. So that's where I'm at. I'm honestly slightly bored. It's like fine. I also think I just need to take a break from like sitting and reading, and I need to like do some stuff around my house. So I decided to borrow an audiobook from Libby, because I'm trying to stick to doing this all with books from the library. And I decided I didn't want to commit to like a super long audiobook, but earlier this year I started a series called Penrick's Demon by Lois McMaster Bujold. It is like a series of novellas that are part of some larger fantasy world by this author. I have not read anything in the larger world. Like, I haven't read any of the full books, but I did read this one book in the spin-off novella series about Penrick, who basically accidentally gets himself possessed by a demon. And so he's like having to learn to coexist with this demon that's inside of him. And he gets thrown into this whole world. So I decided to go ahead and pick up the second book on that one. They only have the audiobooks of the rest of the series, so I'm gonna have to do this in an audiobook anyways. This one is more funny, so hopefully I can keep it a little bit separate from the other books that I'm reading. I was kind of looking for something that was more thriller-y, but I didn't find anything that super stood out, so I figured I might as well continue a series I've already started. So I'm gonna go listen to this while I do like some chores around the house and stuff, and then I will update you when I have some thoughts either on this book or I finish Grimoire Grammar School or something. But that's what I'm gonna be tag teaming between, is my audiobook and the Kindle. I'm still hoping to get to the third book, Belladonna, before the timer runs out. So this audiobook is 4.5 hours, so it wouldn't take up too much of the time, and I don't know if I'll necessarily finish this in this 12-hour thing, but I do want to have something to do while I actually get some stuff done around my house. So we're gonna switch to the audiobook for now. I will come back to this, and then I'll update you when I have some more thoughts. another check-in. I am currently at 6:50. I don't know if that's gonna focus on that very well. But I have 6 hours and 50 minutes left. I'm trying to remember, I think last time I updated you, I was like halfway, and I was about halfway through Grimoire Grammar School. I have finished that book. I finished it last night at about, oh, what time was it? 7 hours? No, 8.5 hours left. I think that's when I finished it, is 8.5 hours. It was good. I guess my first update is I've settled on a rating for Gilded Wolves. I think I'm gonna give that one 3.5 stars. I think I'm also going to give Grimoire Grammar School 3.5 stars. They were both books that were like good, and I would recommend them, but they're not like books that I would say you need to rush to read. So that's where I stand on that. Grimoire Grammar School overall was just not as funny as I expected to be, which is probably partially my fault. Maybe I just like misinterpreted the back of the book when I read it, but I expected it to be a lot more humorous than it was. So that was a little bit of a bummer for me because I was expecting a funny book, but it was still a good story. It was more on the end of heartwarming, I guess, by the end. They definitely go on a little bit of an adventure. Things get a little bit crazy. I didn't love, there's like a whole side plot of her having to like work through all these changes with her husband. And I didn't necessarily love how that was handled. I can see, like, the first little bit's fine. Like, there starts to be a lot of tension in their marriage and they're starting to fight a lot and stuff like that. And I guess this might start to get into spoiler area. If you're concerned about that, you might want to like skip 30 seconds or a minute. But they get to a point where they're like, have to have a little intervention type of a thing. So they sit down to talk, and I felt like she ended up apologizing so much more than he did, and it just felt like a lot of the blame got put on her for their arguments. And like, she did need to apologize. I'm not saying that she like wasn't in the wrong, like she definitely needed to apologize too, but I felt like she apologized above and beyond, and I feel like his apology was just sort of half-hearted. I don't know, I just feel like a lot of the blame got put on her in general, and I don't know, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, wait, but he also, for the whole like first half of the book, has been completely dismissing everything she said, and then he like gave half an apology. Like, I don't know, like he apologized, but not nearly to the extent that she did. So I don't know, that was a little bit interesting. And just overall, I don't know, cozy fantasy just isn't my favorite unless there's like really fun, quirky characters, and this one didn't really have that. Like, there's fun characters. I wouldn't say anyone's super quirky. It very much so is like normal people, just we added magic in, and so it didn't quite have the charm as far as the characters go for me that other cozy fantasy books have had, which I feel like is what has made up for the lack of plot. Like, if you're gonna have, like, there's a plot, but there's not really like a crazy plot going. If you're gonna have that type of book, I need really interesting characters to make up for it, and I don't feel like Grimoire Grammar School quite did that for me. So I definitely would be interested to try this author's other book, Dreadful. That's like on my list of books to read at some point, but this one wasn't like a favorite, but it was good. If you're interested in it, I would definitely try it, but it's not like a, oh, everybody needs to read this right now. That being said, I did also get 45 minutes into my audiobook. Not super far, but considering it's only a 5-hour audiobook, a decent amount of the way. That one's good. It sounds like that one's gonna go maybe murder mystery route, which I'm really excited about, but I just ended up deciding I wanted to try and finish Grimoire Grammar School, so I didn't listen to a ton of that one. But I did also this morning start Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is the final book that I had on my TBR for this video. And I am currently 27%. So I am actually flying through this book. I feel like this one has caught my attention much better than I expected it to, honestly. I wasn't 100% sure. This almost kind of felt like a lot of people talk about like the romance. I'm not even sure if that's gonna be a thing so much in this book. I'm interested to see if that's like people are talking about it as a series as a whole, or if they're talking about it specifically in this book. I'm unsure. But you're basically following this girl who, when she was a baby, her parents both died along with the entire party of people they had at their house. And then as she's been passed around from guardian to guardian, they all die, basically. Like, death is following around, and she can see death and she can see ghosts. And so you're following this whole thing. She ends up at basically what is her final potential guardian, and she's determined to make it work. And she wants to stay there. And so you're kind of following that, but there's some secrets going on at the house and she's now having to basically solve them and figure out how to stop having everybody around her die so that she can stay with this guardian, because it's kind of her last option. And so that's kind of as far as I've gotten. I'm very intrigued. There's some interesting characters. We're starting into a very interesting plot line that I'm excited about. I love books where death is a character. I think it's such a fascinating topic. I'm very interested to see, because I feel like people online pitch it as a romance between her and Death, which I'm so curious how that's gonna happen, or if that even actually is a thing, or if people just like have made that up as a thing. I don't know. I'm very curious to see how that goes. I feel like it's very interesting when you make Death a character to decide where you're putting that line between them being a character with like a story arc versus them being like this entity. And so I'm curious to see where this book goes with it. But yeah, overall I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to continue reading. I have some stuff to do today, so I haven't read a ton, but I'm trying to finish up a video and then we're headed down to my family's for the weekend. So I don't know how much more I'm going to vlog. I will continue to work on my hours, but a lot of it might be at my parents' house and I probably won't be filming a ton. The other thing that I have going is, on that drive, me and my husband are probably going to listen to an audiobook that we started a couple weekends ago. We have been listening to The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer, I think is how you say her name. We're currently 18% of the way through it. It is a 3-hour drive one way. So we'll have 6 hours of driving this weekend, which I could potentially clock for some of this challenge. We'll see where I'm at. We'll see how much we feel like listening to an audiobook. Sometimes we listen to an audiobook, sometimes we just feel in the mood for something else. So we'll see if we listen to audiobook at all. If I haven't finished my hours, because I have that book on Libby, I will count it towards the 24 hours. So most likely I'm going to go and just finish up my hours, all of my reading, and then I will check in with you probably when we get back from this weekend to give you my final thoughts on all the books, which means that there is a possibility that I finish my hours before I finish some of these books, but I'll try and wrap them up and give you my final thoughts on at least Belladonna, maybe not the other books, but we'll just see how the weekend goes. So that's the update. I will probably talk to you guys when we are at the end of my time, and probably after the weekend. I'm here to finish up this video. I don't even know that I need to hold the Kindle, but I have finished my 24 hours. I finished it up over the weekend, partially by finishing Belladonna, partially by listening to The Wishing Game, which is the audiobook that me and my husband are currently listening to, because we have so many back and forths between Utah right now that it just made sense for us to start an audiobook, so that's the one we picked. But first off, my review on Belladonna, I am giving it 4 stars. I thought it was good. I loved the murder mystery element of it. That being said, I felt like we got distracted by the romance a lot, and so that's what brought it down for me. The romance thing was fine, but like the murder mystery was what was really keeping me intrigued and in the book. And so when there was like the middle of it, we kind of took a really slow time, and then we finally got around to like actually making some moves on solving the mystery. So I am excited. It definitely teed up that the second book is also going to be a murder mystery that she has to solve, so I will definitely be continuing the series at some point. But yeah, overall it was good. I loved the vibes of it. I did really like the characters. I will say there were some things that were really predictable as far as like the romance stuff. Like I think it was maybe supposed to be some big reveals happening there, but I felt like they were pretty well foreshadowed. So and there was one like sex scene. It wasn't super graphic, but it definitely was further than I was expecting with this being a YA book. So that was interesting. I hope we don't continue doing that like crazy in the rest of the series. Let me know. But that was Foxglove, and then, or not Foxglove, that was Belladonna. And then The Wishing Game, we didn't finish. We ended up listening to like maybe 3 or 4 hours of it total as we drove this weekend. We're almost halfway through it. So I don't have a ton of thoughts on that one. That one I'm liking so far, but I feel like it's hard when I keep, like I'll listen to a few hours on a weekend and then we'll have a whole week or 2 in between, and then I'll listen to a few more hours. So we need to find something to do so we can get through it a little bit quicker. But overall that one's good. But in total in this video, we finished 3 complete books because we did The Gilded Wolves, The Grimoire Grammar School Parent Teacher Association, and Belladonna. And then I listened to 45 minutes of the Penrick book, whatever that second one's called. And then I listened to a few hours of The Wishing Game. So that's what I accomplished in the 24 hours reading purely library books. Let me know what you think I should do next if I ever do another 24-hour reading challenge. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye.